So we are back live with our second guest of the day on Sideline Sit Down, Kevin Naro, on Real Sports Live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We're joined by Lyford head softball coach Joey Rios. Coach Joey Rios joining us here. Coach, what's up?
How's it going, brother? Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. Coach Rios, our second guest. We had Brandon Ortega on earlier this afternoon, and later today, Mission Veterans receiver AJ Gonzalez will be joining us.
Good stuff.
Yeah, no, my dad's just showing. Oh, well, talking about the draft real quick. 15.6 million total viewers. So
more than 37% from last year.
Yeah, so everyone was. My dad just wanted to show me that stat there about the draft, virtual stuff. We're talking about virtual learning, social distancing, and all that stuff. That was a cool nugget there that my dad wanted to share with me. But yeah, Coach, what have you been up to in quarantine? And I know you have your baby boy with you now. So
yeah, that's a blessing in itself, man. Being able, especially busy time of the year, softball season, we know how that goes. But being able to spend some time with him and actually see him grow. He's actually starting to crawl a little bit. He's going backwards, but he ain't moving forward. He's scooting backwards. So it's good to be able to see that and spend a lot of time with him. So that quality time definitely is important. Just doing things around the house and keeping up with yard work and chores. As far as school, my daily routine, we start classes about 9 a.m. or so. We have meetings 8 to 9, and then we'll break off into meetings from about 8 to 4. And when our schedule just kind of varies from there. So we do a lot of online Zoom, pretty familiar with it. Our students, I teach elementary PE, so I got pre-K through 5. I see a lot of different kids throughout the day. And then I'll chime in every now and then with our middle school and high school kids. And then football stuff, meetings and film, just whatever we can.
You and the wife binge watching? You mentioned you guys are watching a lot of shows. What are y'all watching?
Yeah, man. We've actually seen quite a bit. I think we saw a show called The Chosen. It's more of a biblical series. It's really good. I highly recommend it. Then we got to watching around this time. It was more of the Tiger King deal.
Oh yeah.
That was one of those. I was like, oh man, I gave in and I watched it. Crazy stuff. Then we got to watching the All American. I thought that was a really good show.
It was. I watched that one.
That was pretty neat. Caught up on a couple of movies here and there, and right now I'm actually into. I know it's an older show, but the Designated Survivor.
Okay.
That one, I'm actually watching that one right now, and it's just just trying to keep up on some downtime. Every now and then I'll watch a couple shows here and there. What other show that I watch? Oh, The Heist. That's a really good one too.
Did you watch Ozark?
I did see Ozark as well. Man, I'm telling you.
You got it. Anyone, you got it. What about Breaking Bad? I know it's an old one, but it's a classic.
I've never seen it. I've
Okay.
never seen it, never gotten into any of that. I just, for whatever reason, I mean, now that I have time to watch TV shows, I'm taking advantage of it. Normally in the past, I don't have time because, coaching 3 sports, doing varsity football, middle school basketball, varsity softball, definitely busy. So I don't really have too much time.
Yeah, no, I if you like Ozark, you'll definitely like Breaking Bad.
Okay.
Basically, it's basically the same. I don't know if you've heard of Breaking Bad.
I've heard of it before. Yeah, I've seen. I don't want to say a couple of episodes, but I've seen snippets here and there and things like that. I've never actually sat down and watched a full episode or season or anything.
Yeah, it's just basically, Bryan Cranston is a chemistry teacher, well-mannered man, turn meth cook to make money for his family before he dies, and then he becomes this drug kingpin, and it's just the transformation of his character is phenomenal, and it's really good. So I just restarted watching it just for fun.
I got you.
Because there's another show, Better Call Saul, who's that guy's his lawyer in the show, and this Better Call Saul show just tells us how he became a criminal lawyer. So it's like a prequel.
Oh, I got you.
So yeah, no, I recommend.
Sounds interesting.
No, it's really, really good. It's probably one of my all-time favorite shows. But what about any hobbies around the house? Any yard work? Any projects you guys working on?
I haven't actually done any actual projects just yet. I know Coach Garza, my assistant, he actually just built a back patio area. Was able to help him set up. He bought a pool for his kids, so I was able to help them set that up as well. But as far as my place, man, I haven't done much as far as water the yard, mow it, edge, weed eat, things like that. Cleaned out the garage at least twice already.
There's a lot of that going on.
Yeah, but to say like I'm actually in the midst of a project or something, no. I was in the process of putting things together, of thinking of actually building a picnic table for my backyard. I know my dad's been, he's pretty handy, pretty crafty with that stuff. So I was like, in the works. Hadn't just really gotten to it just yet, though.
Definitely. We're going to switch gears just a little bit, Coach, and talk about, the state of sports, not only, in the world, but in the Valley, in our backyard. And, we were just talking about how UIL officially made it, officially canceled the rest of the spring sports. We were talking with Brandon earlier that there was a lot of optimism that we might have sports at one point.
Yeah.
And then about how UIO maybe would just tweak some things, maybe cut out the district season in half. So I had hope. I'm sure you guys had hope, and we're just hoping for that May 4th date to come and maybe find a solution. But again, knowing what we know now that it's indefinite, just what was, we'll take a step back. And when I was talking to Jericho on Monday, that the interesting conversation was the game that you guys ended up playing Friday against TM. Were there any nerves before that game, or was there anything like that? The fact that there was so much uncertainty.
To be honest, I think we were still more on the ropes as far as we weren't considering, hey, this could be possibly our last game, but it was just more. I think we were more caught up in the aspect of the South game, obviously coming off that loss and coming into, hey, now it's time to rebound. We know we're facing another tough team. I think that's more of where we were at as far as what was going through our mind. It was just more of a team thing. Hey, we got to get through this. Let's figure it out. What can we do? But to say the least, as far as, what the whole general idea is of us possibly not having another opportunity to play, that definitely hadn't fully crossed our mind. It's crossed our mind, but it wasn't a topic we say, hey, let's sit down and really think about it. Like, man, hey, this may be the last time we actually get to play. And it's funny because at the end of the game, our conversation was, hey, nothing's for granted. We don't know what it looks like from here on out. And we had just gotten that news that Friday, hey, we were still in the clear to play. So going into that, it was just more of, okay, we knew somewhere in the back of our mind it's there. It just wasn't that topic that we had that full conversation. So after the game, I did give them an announcement. Hey, these are directives we've been given. Hey, we got to, we're off until X amount of time to this date, and then we'll kind of go from there. So we kind of saw it more of as, hey, this is our spring break. We knew we were, about to play some tough matchups. And for us, it was more like, okay, hey, this is a break came a little earlier. Let's breathe a little bit. And then as the process went on, it was just more like, man, date just got kicked back. Uh-oh, like this is pretty serious stuff. Okay, hey, the date just got pushed back again. And then up until last Friday, when we get the final verdict saying, hey, you know what, like that's it, we're done. I was like, oh man. So we actually had a team meeting yesterday, a Zoom meeting. It was more about, picking up equipment and things like that and trying to honor our seniors. But having that conversation with them, it was just more of, I was still holding on to faith and hope, saying, hey, you know what, we're still going to come back and we're going to play this. But, it's settled in for me. It's been a tough pill to swallow. It's tough. And, having that conversation with our girls yesterday was definitely difficult. It was a difficult one. But it was something obviously we had to address, and we had to face the facts and go from there.
Definitely. And looking back to that Friday, there was uncertainty going around for everyone, media included, because my original plan was to be at Harlingen San Benito, and just that day before, just how quickly everything, changed within a day, because I went to the Keys Academy with Coach Silva. We were setting up where we were going to set up for the broadcast. I said, Coach, are you guys still playing tomorrow? Because I know Los Fresnos had already pulled the plug.
Yes.
Said they weren't playing. So he said, nope, we're playing as far as I know, everything's smooth. So the next day comes, and my dad, who's also our cameraman, I was picking him up from school, and we were getting ready to head to Harlingen, and then Coach Solorio calls me and says, "Hey, the game's being postponed." So I'm like, "Okay, so what now?" So let me call Coach Cardenas and Coach Leal over at BVM and Mercedes. "Hey, you guys still playing? We're still playing. All right, so well then let's go to Brownsville." So we head on down to Brownsville, and as far as I knew, games were just being postponed left and right. I know you guys, Hannah, and I think Ed Couch, they all still. I mean, there might have been a handful of games that still were being played that night. So we get there, we set up, and the thing that kind of struck me from that day was not only the uncertainty, but the conversations with the umpires. We chat with them in between
Yeah, yeah.
innings, normal stuff, balls, strikes, whatever. But that day we were talking, they were asking me like, "Hey, so what's going to happen next?" And I'm like, "Well, as far as I know, as far as Monday comes, we cannot play games until the 29th,
Correct.
but the teams can still practice." So we're like, "Okay, it's not so bad after all." But just the conversations we were having were real life conversations about what's going to happen next. Will we play again? And I just remember the umpires and I were like, "Hey, if this is our last game for a while, let's enjoy it."
Yeah.
And that was pretty much the main idea of that entire game. And post game, Coach Leal was talking to her girls, and the word that she brought home was the word grateful. Just to be grateful for the opportunity to go out there and play. And then, of course, she's like, "I don't know if this is our last game. We don't know that, obviously, at that time." So, then the days started getting stretched. The longer we started to not play, the longer everything get pushed back. It was kind of like, this is real, this is real, this is real. So, I'm sure for you guys, like we talked earlier, I felt that, and I just talked to Coach Izzy about this. I felt, me personally, my opinion, that Lyford softball was, what was the hardest pill to swallow of all the teams because of the potential you guys had and what we knew what was coming. Do you feel the same way, knowing that this was going to be the year for something truly special, and it's obviously it wasn't able to happen.
Definitely. And going back to kind of the conversation we had earlier, during our team meeting, we have this kind of tradition that we give the seniors that moment, hey, after the last game, and they all get to, share their heart, and they're transparent with one another, and they get to share their feelings and give advice and, things like that, and wishing girls luck. So that's part of a tradition that we kind of have. And it was different having it virtually over a, Zoom call and not on the field. But we had that conversation, the what ifs, the hey, we have the potential, we know what we were capable of. I was thankful and grateful that we took that loss against South. Obviously, I'm not going out there to try and lose or anything like that, but it was very humbling for us, and credit to them. Great ball club, good team. But it was, to me, it was one of those, all right, hey, this is what we needed. This is what we needed. This is what's going to push us. This is what's going to push us. Sure enough, we came back and we beat a tough Taliso Midway team, which was 2-1. It went all the way down to the wire, seventh inning. Like, it came down. So I was like, all right, this is it. Like, hey, we're breaking threshold. We know where we want to go. We know what we want to do. And we're going to take one game at a time. And then, my mind's racing and my gears are turning, and it's just like, okay, this is what we got to do next. This is what we got to do next. And then it seems like everything just came to a halt, and now we didn't even make it to district. We didn't even make it to district play. No telling what the postseason was like. And, just having conversation with the girls yesterday is just, it's, to me, to me, it's devastating. Like, it's still something I fully haven't wrapped my mind around, I haven't wrapped my head around. And I think it's just the flesh and being caught up in the world. Like, hey, this is what I want. This is what we need. Like, I want to see the end result. But at the same time, I mean, the good Lord's got bigger plans, and he knows why he does what he does. So at the same time, I'm still trying to, wrap my head around and just let it be. But for the girls, it's pretty sad, man. I mean, seeing them, crying and stuff like that, the what ifs and the conversation itself, it's tough. It's still tough. I'm gonna be honest. I'm still not over it, because, like you said, I think, we definitely had the potential. I mean, the sky's the limit for us, really. And, losing a great group of girls, 5 amazing seniors, 2 starters, The other 3 can go at any moment, at any given time. And it's just a great group of girls that have put the work in, that have put the sweat, the tears, the work ethic, have done everything that's been needed to be done to say, hey, this is it. This is what we worked for. Let's go get it now. And then we get to the road where it's like, hey, there's no more road. Like, we can't go anymore.
Mm-hmm. You brought up the point where, you lose to South and you beat TM in the same week. Did you feel that was possibly or potentially a turning point for you guys when you guys felt as a club that you guys were going to head in the right direction? And I don't want to use the word peak, but did you feel that you were starting to click then?
To be honest, I think it was more of a humbling experience. Like, for us, that we actually understood, hey, like, I use the term a lot, hey, we're human. We're human. We're going to have our days. But the team that has the least amount of mistakes is obviously going to come out successful. And we found a team that, just stayed within it. We left them in reach, and they kept climbing and inching the way back. And we found out, hey, we're human too. Like, it's going to happen. But to say that we had, reached the peak, I thought it was just another barrier that we were just fixing to kick that door down and say, hey, you know what, we're going to be that much better because of this game. So with that being said, that's the way I approached it, and I thought of it and looked at it as. And TM, man, they're hella tough. They had us. We were down, I think 1-0. It was tied 1-1 all the way to the end. Like, it was a really great game.
And see, from the outside looking in on you guys, I felt that, you and I had a conversation, I think the morning of the PI tournament, where we were saying, the quality of teams that were in that tournament, and then the San Benito tournament the following week. And I remember you and I were saying, we'll have a conversation again in a week, and then we'll have another conversation in 2 weeks and just talk what had happened. I felt you guys were starting to gain more attention and gain more teams' respect after that PI tournament, beating Sinton, beating Los Fresnos the way you guys did. And then came the San Benito tournament when we had already told people that Lyford was the number 1 team in the Valley. Some folks were still kind of like, well, let's see, because they got San Benito, they got Pioneer, Rio Hondo, Mercedes. Then you guys go out there and go 6-0, and that's kind of when it's like, okay, so, we told you so. They're this good, they're that good, and they just showed you that. To me, I felt that was maybe the turning point in you guys' season when the train was going to start rolling, regardless of what happened in the South game. Because they're a good team as well.
Oh yeah.
So it wasn't to me, it wasn't a bad loss.
Yeah.
But it was a quality loss because they are who they are. They're a very good team.
Absolutely.
So that's where I felt where you guys were starting to click. We saw Mia get a lot of innings and really gain a lot of confidence. And and I know she got. A lot of people will say, well, she got knocked around in the San Benito game.
Oh yeah.
I said I understand that, and I said I felt, again from the outside looking in, that you did a little bit of coaching there. You kind of just left her there and said, hey, you're going to have to exceed this in the second, third round. So get used to it now, because in the playoffs, we might not be able to pull you. You're going to have to kind of just stick this thing through. So, I really felt that the team was starting to hit their stride then. And, for the season to really just come to a halt and then be canceled officially, it's extremely difficult. And when we had Jerica, Mika, Quintana, and Reba on earlier this week, the 4 of them agreed, now not just talking about Lyford, but softball on a whole, the girls felt that this was the year for a lot of Valley teams.
Oh yeah.
To really make a year, because, like I've talked to softball people on the show before, that I feel that when the Valley gets to the Sweet 16, it's like, okay, great, you're in the Sweet 16, good. What's next? What are you doing next? It's pretty much like, I don't want to say the standard, but you get to the Sweet 16 and that's like expected.
Correct.
Did you feel the same way being able to see a team like Pioneer, athletes all over the place? Did you feel softball was in a good place?
I really did, and it was kind of tough for us because we were excited for the Mission tournament, and then it kind of play out. The weather obviously didn't allow us to see certain teams that we were excited to see. Like, we wanted to see the Edinburgh Bellas and the BSJ Bear. Like, I was excited. I mean, I got to see that game live, and I thought that was a shootout. I was like, man, to believe that these 2 teams early on are facing each other and playing this type of competitive ball, that was exciting for us. Like, just to be able, we were literally sitting out there in left field watching the game go on, and we're seeing punches being thrown left and right, and home run here, home run, and it was just like, wow, playing small ball, like just the game of softball in itself. But seeing those 2 teams, duke it out, like, and now you're talking about early. This is the second tournament in the season, like, it's early on, and then going into the Los Fresnos tournament, seen them play, like they're very talented. They got some great. San Benito's got some amazing hitters, like you mentioned, but seeing those different quality teams and knowing that the game of softball in the Rio Grande Valley has just, it's definitely climbing, and seeing the amount of talent that's just around, it's good for the Rio Grande Valley, and I think credit to each coach and each team, definitely that has those leaders and leads those girls in the right way. And then credit to y'all, Real Sports Live, for giving them the coverage and the feed they need. Like that alone is definitely, making them marketable and getting them out there. And that, I think we need more of that. So we definitely commend y'all for doing what you do. And obviously the rest of the girls and coaches for doing what they do, because you can definitely see the climb in the talent, the game itself, the competitive nature. And yeah, a lot of these girls play travel ball, and they see each other here and there, and they get excited for summer ball more than they do district play, because not all the teams are stacked the way they'd like for them to be, but it's still a competitive game. You're going to be as competitive as you'd like to be, but hearing them have those side conversations and being able to reflect back to your Monday conversation, they love that stuff. They eat that stuff, and that's the exposure that they need and what they're used to. But as far as, when they go out and travel and then they play different areas, they're used to that kind of stuff. But for us down here in the Rio Grande Valley, like, it's not something we're going to see every weekend, and we're not going to have a tournament here and there, but the nature of the game and the growth that we've shown over the past couple of years has been a tremendous leap for us.
Sticking with softball, with the team that you had, and now that when they first put the season on pause, you had the idea of, okay, we'll keep working out, and when we come back, we'll be able to do this. But now that we know that there's going to be no season for the rest of the year, as a coach, as speaking as a softball coach, how do you work your off-season program? Do you implement it already, or do you just keep urging them to work out, or how do you work that for your players?
To be honest, like I mentioned before, like I said, it is something that I still haven't fully wrapped my head around. It's still tough for me to accept. I mean, obviously it is what it is, but at the same time, I've kind of given them their space and their time, because we know what we were capable of doing. We know what could have been. So for me, my approach was just, hey, you know what? Let's just let it settle in, just fully understand and comprehend what's going on. And by doing that, I think it's kind of helped. I think it's helped the girls. It's definitely helped me, that's for sure. But to say the least, I think that slow approach of just letting the dust settle, that definitely helped. So taking that approach and going into what we would like to call off season, or getting ready for them to start playing summer ball and things like that, I haven't really pushed the pedal on that. It's been more so, hey, just keep doing what you're doing, focus on your craft. That was a conversation we had prior to getting out. Hey, just because we're going on this break doesn't mean, hey, it's playtime. No, hey, still focused, do the things you got to do, keep your game sharp. But to say that, hey, we're going to send out workouts and things like that, we haven't really done any softball specific type stuff. It's just been more athletic workouts, moving around, foot coordination, just stuff like that. And that's stuff that we implement through our athletic program.
Definitely. Coach Joey Rios from the Lyford Lady Bulldogs, head softball coach, joining us here. We're going to switch gears a little bit and just talk about some football. I know you're a Titans fan. And
Tighten up.
Yeah, where did that come from? Was it an Oilers thing, or?
No, it's a Titan deal. Yeah.
Titan.
That's right.
What do you think on their first round pick?
Oh man, as we were talking earlier, definitely need some beef in the box. You can't ever go wrong. Me personally, I was excited for. I thought we needed an edge rusher, some type of defensive end, some type of defensive move, and we went with the beef. There's nothing wrong with that, especially with Henry carrying the rock. That's always good to see. But yeah, it was a good pickup for us. I think I'm excited. I think they're gonna continue to do what they do, man. I'm just gonna control the clock and run the ball.
Definitely, yeah. You can't ever go wrong with a tackle. And we were talking about CeeDee Lamb and what the Cowboys got. So as a Cowboys fan, I really liked it, and I was hoping to go defense too. maybe a corner or a pass rusher, but he fell all the way to 17, and I think you couldn't ignore that. And I know that they had him rated as the number one receiver on the board, so I was pretty happy with it. Did you enjoy the virtual draft and how the NFL handled it all as a fan?
Oh man, it was definitely different. You can definitely the hype. It was still there. It just wasn't the full effect. You know what I mean? It's definitely different. Being able to see, the head coaches and the GMs with their screens and different setups and different boards, and some have big old monitors, some just have a simple whiteboard, and we're just simple brief, hey, here's my MacBook, this sheet of paper, hey, we're gonna Zoom call and FaceTime, and that was it. But just being able to see, the behind the scenes stuff that we're already used to, but this time it was just one person and a phone, hey, talking to people, or hey, Zoom or FaceTime, and it was definitely interesting, definitely.
Both of us are baseball guys, and the one thing we can agree on is we're both Astro fans.
That's right.
We've had conversations with our guests on here before that are baseball nuts. What are your thoughts on the potential of it being the season not only shortened, but it being in Florida and in Arizona, and how they would implement the spring training leagues?
Man, to be honest, I haven't really kept up too much with the whole process, but I do know just the fact that everything pushed back, the spring training, and then your opening day, you're used to, the whole, being on course and being on time. That's just America's pastime. That's just what we do. That's just what we're about. And having to throw hiccups into it and changing, venues and locations, it makes it difficult for especially, teams that aren't in that area, or fans that aren't in that area and have to do those type of travel and things like that. But to say the least, it is what it is, man. This is one of those things where you just got to bite the bullet and roll with the punches, man.
Yeah, no, it's definitely different. When I was reading it, they were talking about possibly 7-inning doubleheaders, mound visits. The players would be having to sit in the stands 6 feet apart. I mean, it's just strange. And then, for us as a fan, I think the Astros would have been in a division with the Nationals, Mets, Cardinals, and I think maybe one other American League team. But it was just a weird deal, and just it was strange. But for me, I'm like, hey, if it brings baseball back, and if it means we got to do that, then why not? Let's do it. But I mean, it's going to be difficult. The conversation can go on about the pros and cons about it. But hopefully, that baseball can be back soon. Coach, before we wrap up, any message you want to give to your kids, or any shout outs to any family members or friends?
Oh, definitely. First and foremost, our Savior Jesus Christ. I mean, definitely want to thank Him, especially for everything we've been through, everything we're going through, and we definitely want to continue to stay in faith and just know that all of this, that this too shall pass. Like, I mean, it is what it is. It's a tough time for us. We're going to get through it. We're going to do it together. We're definitely not going to do it alone. Definitely want to, give a shout out to my little boy, Daniel, my wife, Anissa, my brother from California. I'm sure he's watching. He's always watching. Yeah. My pops, and definitely the girls and our administration, our school board, our superintendent, Dr. Brown. She's done amazing. She was in our Zoom call yesterday. She was able to chime in and say hello to the girls. So that was exciting. We had a couple of senior girls. Well, actually, our senior girls were out taking pictures. They were doing their, I guess, I don't know, some type of a photo shoot or something. So it was good seeing them with that and having her chime in. But definitely, I want to wish everybody, the best. And it is what it is. Seniors, I know you didn't get to finish your course, you didn't get to finish your run, but I promise you there's a lot more to life than your senior year. I promise you that. You'll definitely, you'll see great strides throughout your life, and we wish you nothing but the best. And to my lady dogs, we love you.
Definitely. Coach Joey Rios joining us here from Lyford. Coach, before you go, I saw something that the school was doing on Twitter. The administrators were from your school were taking out posters, and they were putting them in the yards of the seniors. Can you talk a little bit about that and what that was?
Yeah, the senior, I think the senior board or class committee and admin and school board members, they made senior poster boards for them, 2020 senior grad. They had their name on it. They actually went out and delivered. I wasn't a part of it, but I know several of the coaches and senior staff that were a part of it. They were able to go out and personally deliver them. Obviously, you know, staying safe, wearing the mask, gloves, things like that, keeping their social distancing. But they actually delivered these poster boards and were able to, you know, put them on the ground, stake them out, congratulating and commending the seniors for their accomplishments, even though it's not where we'd like to be, but it's where we're at now. And, you know, it definitely makes me happy knowing that I'm a part of a district that does stuff like this. You know, the virtual learning, we put a lot of work into it, whether it's making videos, live teaching, putting lessons out, Google Classroom, Seesaw, doing a whole bunch of different things that other schools normally don't do. And we're definitely the front runners in it. And it makes me grateful to know that I'm a part of something like this, because even today, I think we have it's Spirit Week. Yesterday they had sunglasses. Today, or the other day, was pajamas, and today it's Spirit shirt. So you'll see on our Twitter feed, like, there's just different kids and different things going on, and to see Lyford, you know, being a part of it and being a front runner in that stuff, that it's definitely heartwarming and heartfelt being a part of that.
Definitely. So that about wraps it up here. We're joined by Lyford head softball coach Joey Rios. Our final guest of the day at 5 o'clock will be Mission Veterans junior wide receiver AJ Gonzalez. So, Coach, thanks for cutting out the time and joining us. You and your family stay home and stay safe, and hopefully next time I see you, it'll probably be during football season. So
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sooner than later.
I appreciate you. Thank you one more time. I got one more shout out for Coach Garcia and Coach Garza. Just let them know much love, because none of this is obviously done without them. They're great supporting staff, and they put a lot of work in for it. So we appreciate you. Thank you for having me, Kev. Appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys. We'll see y'all.
Peace.